Hey guys, welcome to Meg's House, and in today's video I'm talking all about blended families. I'm coming to you with 8 tips on how to ease the transition and how to deal with some problems that may arise in life with the blended family. Tip number 1, open communication. I know this one may seem like a duh and like, oh, everybody says have open communication. However, it is very, very important. And a lot of times we bring our own defense mechanisms into situations. So instead of addressing a problem, we may ignore it, or we may choose to act in frustration instead of saying what's really bothering us. Also, keep in mind, when I'm saying open communication, I feel like this needs to happen from the beginning. Like, people need to be sitting down having important conversations. That means on date number 2, 3, whenever, somewhere in dating, start having that open line of communication where you all are discussing, hey, what's your view on kids? Or how do you feel about me having a child? How do you feel about you having a child and bringing that into this relationship? You find people have all types of thoughts. Some people may feel like, oh no, I don't want somebody to meet my children until we're married. Whereas somebody else will say, no, I want to meet them at least once we're engaged. You have to ask important questions like, what do you think about joint holidays? Or that if we have kids, one child from my previous relationship may be gone with their mother and father while our kids are here with us. Things like, what kind of relationship do you have with your child's mom or father? Financially, how does that person contribute? In fact, finances is a big part, because if that person is on child support, well, that's going to be an expense in y'all's relationship. So you kind of have to know what's going on. If that person owes back child support, well, again, that's going to be a long-term expense 9 times out of 10, and that's something that people have to discuss. Living arrangements for kids, is that the child goes with the other parent half the week and is there with the family the other half, or that they do split holidays. All of these things have to be discussed. And also remember that each person brings their own background to the situation. So how one person may handle something is different than how someone else may handle, because we have different viewpoints. What may be a big deal to one person may not be a big deal to another person, and it's trying to find that common ground, because in relationships it's not one way or it should go his way or her way. No, it's our way, like 2 people coming together. Tip number 2. Know that it's going to take time. Rome was not built in a day, okay? Remember that relationships, it is different moments with people, okay? So you cannot expect change to happen instantly. Even once you have a conversation about something, it doesn't mean, okay, the next day it should be so. And if it arises again, it's like, whoa, we talked about this. No, it takes time. Like, people need time to process, to accept, to implement. And remember that everybody is growing at different rates and speeds. So just because you're here in a situation doesn't mean that your spouse is there also. And you got to give people time. And then when you are factoring in kids, whether it's y'all's kids together or kids with someone else, you have to factor in that everybody has different feelings. So you got to give people time to deal with their feelings and process interactions and moments that happen, if it's a new relationship, that child may need time to adjust to the new step parent. Vice versa, the step parent may have to adjust to the child. And then you, as the person that's in it, you are bringing the child and the new relationship. You have to adjust to having both those things. Even things like splitting your time. That can be difficult because you're used to having everything all at one time. And then now you have this other person to try and maintain too. You have to give all of that time to adjust. Again, going back to tip number 1, it's going to start with open communication though. If people are not communicating what they need, what the expectations are, it's going to be hard to make those adjustments, and it's going to take a longer time to get to happier places. Tip number 3, pray for your spouse, your children, and your family overall. This one is probably the most important one. Oftentimes I think that as people, we think, oh, I know what's best, and I think it should go like this. And to be honest, in doing that, it's like we playing God, because it's like we saying, oh, I wrote the script to your life, this is how it should go. No, God leads us. God tells us, like, when we came into this world, each person comes individually. In prayer, that's how you can ask God to bring out the best in your spouse, to teach you and your spouse how to do this whole parenting thing, you know, how to do this step parenting thing, help y'all to build a foundation on steady ground, you know. Pray and ask, oh God, please, like, open the line of communication in this house. God, help me to come up with the right questions. Help us to be able to understand one another. Help us to be able to come to solutions, Father, you know. And also give thanks. Give thanks that you have that spouse there now. Give thanks when things are good and everybody is able to communicate, you know. Be thankful for those little moments that y'all can sit at the table and eat all together as one family, because sometimes we come from a place of lack of what we don't have, instead of coming from a place of abundance and saying, this is what we do have. I'm thankful that we did have this moment. I'm thankful we're able to have a birthday party all together and everybody's able to come and be cordial, you know, things like that. When you see the world brighter, it's gonna look brighter, you know. The Bible talks about leaning not to your own understanding, and so that's one thing as Christians, we gotta move forward. You can't just read words and not apply them. And in that sense, that's what the word is telling us, is that we have to don't think that we know. God knows what's best for that person, and you'll be amazed how that person will learn things in their own life and then bring it back to the relationship. Somebody could have a situation happen to them at work, and then from there, it's like, oh, now I see why it's important for us to use a calendar. You know, had I used my calendar and planner, then I could have anticipated A, B, C, and D, and the week could have went a little bit smoother. They didn't learn it from you lecturing, going off, let me tell you about yourself. It didn't take all of that. What it could have taken was you in the background, God, please teach them the right way to go. God, please order his or her footsteps so that you and your family can be where you envision it to be. And remember that some battles not for us to fight. That's between God and that person, between God and that child, and especially with children, because as parents, again, it's even more tough because we think we know, oh, this is what's best for my child. In some senses you do. That's why God assigned you to that child. However, it's still God teach me how to be a parent. God teach my spouse how to be a step parent. You'll never know what type of opportunities will arise that will teach you and your family how to interact with each other. Tip number 4 is setting boundaries. Whew. Honey child, let me tell you, the relationship is not going to last if you all do not know how to set boundaries. And I think it's going to be a lot on that person who's bringing some children into the relationship, but also to that new spouse. You have the right to say, hey, we need some boundaries. Like if you identify that that's missing in y'all's relationship or this whole situation, family structure now, you have the right to say, hey, whoa, this is a red light. No, we can't go past go. So some examples are, don't call my phone after 9 o'clock. You know, unless it's something important or something pertaining to the child, don't call me. Like, I'm at home with my family now. It's inappropriate. And you gotta watch people, because they be sneaky with how they try and get their little ways in there, and they'll even use the kids to try and, oh, I was just trying to text and say this. And it's like, okay, text me at 8 a.m. You know, don't text me at midnight. Like, you know, that's hoochie mama booty call hours. Don't call and text people around that time. Keep in mind that maybe when you wasn't dating somebody else, maybe you played them kind of games back and forth, or maybe it wasn't a big deal. But once you have somebody else, no. Because in not doing that, you showing that other person you're not that important. Other things, like say if you and that person may have always gone school supply shopping for the child and stuff. No, it's a no. Or unless you all discuss and say, hey, I really don't see a problem with that. To me, I personally think all that extra stuff is too much. You don't need to be all in each other's lives like that. I could see if it was a holiday or a birthday, unless it's graduation, something like that. We don't need to do that. All that extra togetherness, no. You and your new family need that. Not that person. You're not building with that one over there. If God calls you out that situation, it's time to walk away and move on. Stop trying to hold on to stuff. And then you got to check yourself and ask, am I trying to leave two doors open? Like, what if this situation over here don't really work out? Am I trying to leave this door open to go back over here? You also could deal with boundaries between disciplining the children. You know, maybe it's a, hey, stepmom, no, you cannot whoop this child. You know, we can do timeouts. We can do punishment and whatnot. We can even do physical like tasks or something, like go and run laps or something. But in terms of putting your hands on the child, I don't agree with that. Or maybe say that for me and the birth parent. Whatever it is y'all come to, but it's important to discuss and set, hey, here's where we stop and start. Tip number 5, treat children equally. Okay? There's no way you're going to be able to be married treating kids better than another. You know, when Christmas time comes, unless it's just an age gap, it can't be where this one got buku toys and this one don't have much. It can't be this one taking trips and this one not taking the trip. You know, it can't be buying clothes for one and not for the other. All you are doing is creating division in your house, and that is not going to be healthy. You can't build on split ground. You got to build on something solid. You got to take it from the physical stuff, the materialistic stuff, and think about how you talk to the children. You know, you can't be mean and ugly acting to someone that's not yours, but then kind and loving to someone that is. So in terms of maybe the person bringing the children in, you gotta foster and nurture that situation so that that communication can happen. Children at different ages have different needs. Parenting is critical. The words that's spoken into these children, words have power. The word is life. So that's what you putting into these kids. If you not building them up, you're going to be tearing them down. And again, especially when you having something so delicate as a blended family, you have to know that everybody's got feelings in this whole thing, you know, and you got to be mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. You got to be mindful of the actions that you do, you know, and then sometimes check yourself. Maybe you just do have a thought process that needs to be corrected. This is something else that's key. You have to allow people to love in a way that does match the situation too. For instance, if you're bringing children into the situation and then you have your own children within the situation, within the marriage, if that person has moments where they bond with their own flesh and blood, because that is their flesh and blood, you have to accept that too. Let them have those special moments, but also take time to have other special moments with the other kids. And then it's a great lesson for the kids because it's not always all about one, or it's not always about the other. You have to teach them balance. Right now ain't your time. Right now is this person's time, okay? Later your time will come. And having that open communication and explaining to the kids what's going on. Balance it between them all, because everybody want to feel loved. Nobody want to feel neglected or like they the black sheep of the family or anything like that. Tip number 6. you have to let that person be a parent. And this is on both sides. If you are the actual parent to that child, you have to let the step parent form his or her own relationship with that child. Everybody not gonna do things how you did it. You know, everybody not gonna be perfect. There's no manual on it. And again, remember, everybody comes with their own background of how they were raised and how they saw it done. So all of that makes them, they're bringing that to the relationship and to the marriage. You gotta give them space to be. And whatever relationship is going to form between the kids, that's what it's going to be. As a step parent, remember, no one wants to be criticized. And well, really on both sides, no one wants to be criticized. But as a person that's coming into a relationship, and once you start giving comments about what's happening between that person and their child and stuff, it is going to be probably some defensiveness that's going to arise, and it is going to feel like you being critical on them. So it's probably going to be a little friction. Again, I do think that it can be handled through open communication and coming into agreement on what someone thinks is best. Like, how are we gonna do this? Not how everybody else did it. How are we gonna do our situation? Because you're telling somebody, hey, I noticed this and I disagree, or I don't like. But again, as that step parent, you may see things that you don't like maybe the child stays up until 9:30 and you believe that kids should go to sleep at 7 o'clock. That needs to be a conversation that needs to be had. You know, what if the child sometimes is what you consider disrespectful? Well, a conversation needs to happen about what kind of things or what kind of statements and what kind of actions are considered disrespectful. Some people may feel like there's no going back and forth with an adult. Well, that can play out and mean totally different things to two people. Somebody may feel like, my child not going back and forth with you, whereas somebody else may feel like anytime I tell you something and you responding back, that's going back and forth. Whereas another parent, again, may feel like, well, it's important to explain why. So understanding where each adult is coming in a situation will help guide the children. Because if y'all jacked up at the top, it's going to come down to the kids. Tip number 7, maintain respect. It's no reason why anybody should be screaming, hollering, cursing, fussing. Okay? I'm making this video for real people trying to really do this family thing. You know, I love families. I think it's one of God's greatest creations. But I'm making it for the real ones that can't admit, oh, I might raise my voice. Or I can't admit, yeah, when I get mad, I use foul language and whatnot. Now, we real people, but at some point, you become an adult, okay? The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. With that being said, childish behavior, however you handle things when you was 20, even 18, 19, maybe 25, whatever, some of that gotta go. Everybody needs to be respectful. If you feel yourself getting heated, it's time to back up from the conversation. Do it at another time when people aren't ticked off. And I know sometimes it may be easier said than done, but again, that's the difference between a child and an adult. Let's do an example. Say if the old mate or person is still visiting your spouse's family, still just too much in the picture. It shouldn't be, I'm gonna go over there in my car, I'm about to tell him or her about themselves. Oh no, I'm gonna get her together, I'm gonna get him together. No. You have mature conversations, set some boundaries, and that should be the end of that. Let your family members know, hey, I'm moving forward in this relationship. I don't feel comfortable with so-and-so being here anymore, or just dropping by. I know that she may have done this in the past. This relationship no longer exists, and I'm trying to move forward in this other relationship. You know, clear communication. I believe that everybody should be cordial. We ain't gotta be best friends, but I can hang by you. Even if you don't even like that person, that don't mean you have to cut up and act a fool, okay? Conversations may be tough with that person, but you're gonna have to find words to express what needs to be said. And a lot of times it's easier when you keep it focused on the children and focus on what you meant to accomplish in that conversation. But be realistic. Know that issues will arise. 8th and final tip: do not do ultimatums. Here's an example with discipline, because I feel like discipline is like a hot topic for parenting, and especially blended relationships and blended couples. You might tell the spouse, if I can't discipline this child how I want to do it, then I can't do this relationship. It may be to the extent of whooping the child, or like if I can't whoop this child and talk to him how I want to talk to him, I can't do this relationship. You're putting your relationship in a bad place. You pushing that person into a corner and only making it like there's 2 options when there's multiple options. You know, it's not asking for you all to drop the problem. So you can't tell this woman, I don't want you to ever talk to him again. Y'all are done. This is done. You talk to him again, then we're finished. If she met you and had kids and had this, and you decide to be in that relationship, you're going to have to take the things that come with it. As the person bringing a whole background into the situation, you can't be like, this is the way we always did things. Me and this person, we always did Christmas in the Oaks together, or we always did grocery shopping together, so you're gonna have to accept it, or I don't see us being able to move forward. You're probably gonna get the latter. So you need to plant some seeds in the garden that's growing on this side. But ultimatums, all they do is kill the relationship. You're communicating, but it is not effectively, okay? Again, say what's really the problem. If the problem is, I feel like if we don't celebrate Christmas in the Oaks together, it may make my child feel like her mom and dad are truly split. Well, by saying that that's the real problem, you can get to the real solution, because somewhere maybe a reality check needs to happen. Y'all not a family no more. That is it. That's a wrap. And make sure you're not saying that it's the child when it's really you that don't want to let go of those things. You know, hey, it's really about having reflective time with yourself to say, oh, what do I really want? Do I really want this new relationship and new marriage? Or even ask yourself, do I really want to take in someone else's child and deal with a baby mama or baby daddy or whatever you want to call it? You know, do I really want to deal with those things? And no, once you make that commitment, you can't drag somebody down because they came with those things. Once you accepted it, that's a wrap. There's no conversation about it. The only conversation needs to happen is about how y'all gonna deal with it. The fact that this is already what it is, that's all. Like, you can't, there's no time travel. You know, you can't go backwards. So that is all the tips that I have in regards to blended families. I really, really hope that this lands on some minds and hearts that's open to receive. Please, if you have anything that really stuck out to you in this video, leave that in the bottom, like what's your biggest takeaway from anything that was said in this video. Leave that in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Check out some of my other videos. God bless you and your family, and